So while filming my previous video, where I was making a bunch of miniature antique books, I was searching up reference pictures for those books with hidden storages inside of them. And I came across this Assassin's Cabinet, which is a book with little drawers inside that allegedly held poisonous substances. And it is so completely my vibe that I literally just sat there zooming in on a picture and whispering, "Oh my god," to myself. I mean, I literally have a bottle that says poison on it. And so I knew I had to make this cabinet. Hi, my name is Emily and I am going to a thrift store right now. I had a few requirements for my book. 1, it had to be a chonker so the little drawers could have some substance. 2, it can't be an actual antique book, of which this thrift store did have many, because then I would feel bad for cutting it apart. And yet, 3, it must look old and decrepit. I also tried to find books that were botany or medical themed, but that was less important since you won't be actually able to read the book. In the end, it came down to these absolutely massive Canadian encyclopedia, but one of them had a dead spider in it, so I could have sworn I filmed myself explaining the project and also introducing the book, but I can't find that footage anywhere, so I guess I just imagined it all. Anyway, I got the Canadian Encyclopedic Dictionary for $1.50. It has a beautiful crimson vinyl cover, yellowed pages, and sprayed gold edges showing signs of wear and tear. Perfect. As for the compartments inside, here is the configuration I was thinking of, and if we look at the reference image, you'll notice we need some tiny knobs and wooden trim, and so I went to the only place I knew I could find some. So I just got back from my great adventure. This is the mini trim I got. I got 5 of these, and I think they're about $3 a piece. And then I also got these tiny little round knobs. I was worried they might be a bit too small, but I got them anyway because it's really hard to find them in person anywhere here, and I really don't want to have to order online. And then what's wild is that afterwards, I went to a thrift store and I came across even more little doorknobs. I never come across miniature furniture stuff in thrift stores, so it's such a cruel trick of the universe to show me this right after I already bought a bunch of them. I mean, it's fine. Whichever one I don't end up using will simply join my stash, and I'm sure that someday it'll be useful. Someday. So I've done the calculations. In total, the shelf box space is going to be 6 by 8 inches and 2.75 inches deep, and the drawers themselves are going to be 2 by 3 inches, slightly shallower than the depth of the entire shelf area because I need to make space for whichever knob I end up using. Here's a mock-up, and my bottle of poison should fit right in there. Although this might be a better fit. This is just a random Reader's Digest book that I got for free, and it seems like it will be a much better, snugger fit for my bottle of poison. Oh, what should I do? So the reason I didn't use this book is because it looks way too new. It doesn't give the vibe of this book has been around since the 1600s. Whereas this encyclopedia, it just looks so much more antique. But I figured this small book would make for a good trial run, so off I went to find some wood. These are all the scraps I have to work with. These should be enough for the smaller book. I'm not sure if there will be enough for the big book. I guess we're about to find out. So all of these scrap wood I just dug up are all 3/16 inches thick, which is a very annoying measurement, with the exception of the big thin one, which is 1/16. I meant 1/8 inch. Okay, time to do some math. So I was looking up more reference photos for this Assassin's Cabinet, and this one is so freaking gorgeous. Look at the colored pages, the green. I don't know what this purple thing is, but looks cool. Wow. Should I try drawing something like this? Anyway, I was trying to figure out how to construct these drawers because in the one that I was looking at, the drawers hide the shelving behind it. See the way you can't see the planks horizontal or vertical? That's gonna take a lot more math to figure out, that's for sure. But for this one, this green fancy one, they didn't hide the shelving and the drawers just go inside. This one would definitely be easier for me to do, but I feel like I want the seamless look. Seamless look just looks a lot more professional, in my opinion at least. So I did start calculating a bunch of mathy stuff, like look at this fraction addition going on here. I made a chart, but I might have to redo some of it in order to accommodate for the seamless look. I think it would be a lot easier if I simply made the frame first and then measure out these shelves. That just sounds like it makes more sense. So even though I'm not totally happy with this smaller version because all the cuts are kind of crooked and the measurements are wrong, I'm going to try gluing this together just so that if there's any more troubleshooting I need to figure out, I can do it with this one instead of on the bigger one. So now I have the rack all glued and dried. The next thing I have to figure out is how I'm going to cut through what's probably 300 pages. Oh my gosh, there's almost 600 pages in here. And I guess I should look up some tutorials about this just to ensure I don't mess it up. Okay, so it seems simple enough. You glue the sides and then you cut out the pages. I mean, I really don't know what other way I could have done it. So I must admit, cutting out the hidey hole was a very unpleasant experience. It started out nice and clean, but the deeper I got, the more shreds started to appear, and the more the handle of the knife got in the way. Why are they all looking at me? The sides of the hole got super uneven and messy, which technically would be fine since it would be covered by the wooden frame anyway, but I was worried about the size of the hole, which started fluctuating because of the unwieldiness. And the process became so frustrating that I just gave up and turned it into a regular book box and went on a search for a different tutorial. Alright, let's try this again. Step 1, template. Step 2, don't cut more than 20 pages at a time. So far so good. I wonder what I should do with all these leftover pages. Maybe I could turn them into envelopes or something? Anyway, and then we just repeat that until we reach the bottom of the book. I think this is the last pass, which is such a shock because the other one took me so long and this one was so quick and easy. Look, it's all cut through and it only took me about 2 hours. Whoa, the book is so light. I'm so glad this worked because this is so much faster and so much less rage-inducing than the other one. All the X-Acto knife cutting did a number on my elbow joints though, so I need to take a break and do lots of stretches. Look at Mika on the ground over there. Hey Mika! By the way, here is a prototype of what I would do with the leftover pages. And I was thinking I could package my stickers in these from now on because it would be super cute. So I think I am perhaps ready for the real deal now. But before I get cutting into the book, I think I do want to make at least the box and the little drawer facings out of wood first using my new table saw. I'm kind of scared. I did have a nightmare about it last night. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want to make it come true. And also the other thing I realized, the original calculations had the interior of the box be 6 by 8, but I realized if I wanted the drawer facing to hide the structure of the box, it should be the exterior that is 6 by 8. So I gotta keep that in mind when I'm cutting. And the other thing I also realized is that the calibration on my table saw is completely off. So 0 should be matched up to here, but here is 15. And 0 is all the way here. With copious amounts of help from my dad and the heavy use of a hammer, we realigned the guide and then... About to try out my saw for the first time. Wish me luck. So with copious amounts of help from my sister and my dad, I managed to cut out some of the basic pieces I need. 6x8 frame and 3x2 little pieces. However, this time I didn't pre-glue the frame together. My sister suggested it would be much more manageable if I cut the hole in the book first and then glue the wooden pieces in separately, as opposed to attempting to shove it in as one already glued rigid unit. So that's exactly what I did. Including lots of new words. Uh-oh. I think this is about 1/8 through. I think it's about deep enough to fit my phone in there. How can they claim they're Canadian when they spell color like this? Manufactured in the United States of America. This book is a lie. I am sweating a lot. So I've made it all the way down to N, which is just about halfway through the book. And I'm seeing evidence that somebody used this book for flower pressing. We are on page 1059. Wow. With confirmation that the wooden frame does in fact fit in the book, I did more math, an obscene amount of math. I hope these calculations are right. Glued up the sides of the book. Stained the frame pieces with my trusty special walnut. And waited for it all to dry. And in the meantime, I cut out more pieces of wood. Short intermission. So these are the pieces that I've cut so far. I've got some more pieces to cut. I'm still having trouble doing long planks. I'm gonna keep trying and hopefully I'll get better at it. See, it happened again. The ending didn't get cut. Just gonna feed this through again. Ta-da! Also, this is my very professional list of things I need to cut. I'm very tired and sweaty and disheveled, but I got all the wood pieces that I wanted to cut today done. You see this meager amount? It took me 2 whole hours. These have terrible tear out on them, but I was hoping that maybe it would add to the old look. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just gonna try putting these together and see what happens. These are now completely dry, and I gave them a very mild sanding with 1000 grit just to make sure they're completely smooth. And now let's put them into the book. Now I'm going to let this dry under the very professional press again. So before I put the book under the press, I was testing out the fit of this singular drawer, and I realized that I did mess up the calculations because I forgot to account for the outer box, which is 1/8 inch. So I need to reduce this drawer by at least that same amount. Good thing I only made one. So despite my meticulous planning and mathing, I somehow still messed up because once I placed the drawer facing on here, there's not enough space for both the trim and the knob. Like, they're not gonna fit once the book is closed. Why do I keep messing up on this project? Okay, so I've thought about it for a while, and I think I'm just going to take the L and just have the sides of the frame being exposed. Now that I'm looking at it, it doesn't even look that bad. My problem with the math and the measurements, I think it's just that I was thinking about it too metaphysically. Like, I was imagining it in my head, not actually looking at the thing, which I think makes all the difference for me. Oh yeah, and also these shelves are not glued in or anything. I just put them in here to spread out the box as it dries. And so I painstakingly remeasured everything, redid the math, maybe cried a little on the inside, and you know, I swear I can do basic math. It's just that the moment I get on camera, my mind automatically switches to panic mode, and math is apparently the first thing to go. I mean, look at this abysmal math I did in my frog vest video, and somehow nobody noticed it. Or maybe you were just too nice to call me out, in which case, thanks. Okay, so new plan. I'm going to reduce all the inner components down to 2 inches so that the facing of the drawers can still rest upon them. And also, I was doing some new calculations for the drawer. These are some very disgusting numbers. I would prefer not to work in fractions, but that's the way it has to be. I really hope this works. This is how it's all supposed to come together, by the way. Very crookedly, but you get the idea. So here are the inner pieces all stained and polished. And now I'm going to start by putting the long pieces in. And now the smaller pieces. So now I'm going to cut off 1/8 inch from all of these drawer facings. And I'm also going to cut out all the new interior drawer pieces. Here are the new measurements. Let's go. Leaving the wood hanging here was dangerous, so I should not have done that. Lesson learned. So this is all the 1/8 plywood I have to work with, and I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. I guess if worse comes to worse, I can just use my basswood. There's a lot more wood to cut, but I'm just showing you what I have so far. So I really don't think I have enough for 12 of 2 by 1 inch 5/8. So here's my basswood. Is it overkill to cut basswood on the table saw? Yes, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Chill. Great transition, I know. Now I just have to sand down all of them. I lost track of time. It is noon, time for lunch, more sanding in the afternoon. It's finally glue up time. So these two make up the small drawers, and these are the 4 big drawers, and those are all the side pieces. And here are all the facing pieces. And then it was time for the fancy trim. I miter cut them with a handsaw, which took me forever and wasn't super accurate, and then glued them on. Well, gaps in the corners here. This one is particularly bad right here. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it now that it's all glued on. I'm sure there were amateurs back in the 1600s. I just wanted to make sure all these drawers would fit. Last one is still in its prison. Ta-da! I also left a little wiggle room between the drawer facings as well, just so they're more free to move around, and also so I can do even less sanding. And then I simply glued the facings onto the drawers. I messed up gluing this, and even though it was like 10 minutes ago at most, it's already stuck so hard that I can't take it apart. I don't know what to do. I don't want to cut more wood. Thank God. It's a bit sticky up here. Hopefully some sanding will fix that. I think you can see the difference better here. See how sharp and uneven this one is? And this one's so round and bubbly. Time for stain. And now I'm going to let this fully dry and then slap on a coat of poly. And in the meantime, let's figure out what to draw on the inside of the front cover. So the original reference I was working off of has this skeletal drawing. Here's a better view of that. And I think some of the other ones I saw also had skeletal drawings, like this one, this one, this one. But the one I actually like is the green one, which has apparently a polychrome print of a demon. So I did cheat a little and traced the image digitally, but for the color, I decided to print it out and paint it with watercolors to give it a more handcrafted look. I don't really understand what's going on in this picture, but who am I to argue with a painting from the 1600s? later, once this completely dries, I'm also going to try rubbing pastel dust all over it to make it look super old. Oh, it looks so gross on camera. Oh, I kind of don't like this. The thing is, it just looks super blotchy. If you rub too hard, the paper starts beating up. And also, if you're not careful, you pick up chunks of the pastel and start drawing like little lines and swirls. And also, of course, the pastel goes over the black and makes it look really faded, but not in the way that makes it look old and realistic, and more like there's something on top of it. Also, I realized I spelled this wrong, so I'm gonna have to reprint this anyway. I just can't help but be influenced by my own name. So I managed to find this in my drawing stash. It's this kind of creamy off-white color. I guess beige is what you'd call it. This is how that first one turned out, by the way. I mean, it doesn't look bad or anything. It's just that I want to give it another go. Old and decrepit. With the painting done, or so I thought, it was just about time to give the drawers a nice coat of polyurethane. The spontaneous combustion part always gets to me. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but what if it does? For the shelves and the sides of the drawers, I decided to use my brand new fresh pot of finishing wax because I wanted the drawers to slide around more easily. So I waxed the top, but not the bottom yet, and you can see the difference in how dry the unwaxed part is and how luscious the wax part is. It's so burnished and shiny, you can almost see the reflection of the line in the wood. After all that was cured, I prepared the middle compartment where my poison bottle was going to live with some cardboard to reduce the depth and some batting and velvet for fanciness. Oh god, look at this carnage. It was just a lot of gluing. Gluing the cardboard into an I-beam that would not pass inspections, gluing the velvet to the cardboard, gluing all the components into the book. And then I had to remove the first few pages of the book, which I had left uncut because I wanted the first page to be the page that said contents on it. This, unfortunately, presented a challenge in itself, where the spine fell off and I had to reattach it along with a piece of salvage paper to hide the ugly seam. And then it was time to glue in the demon painting, except that I noticed a problem. So the paper is a little more orangey and peachy than the book pages, and actually I noticed that the first drawing I did color matches much better. I don't want to start over though. What should I do? How perfectionist do I want to be about this? Much better match. Now that all of that is done, there are just some I's and lowercase j's to dot. Firstly, I lined the insides of the drawers with some velvet samples that my sister gave me. Secondly, I glued on the tiny knobs. Thirdly, to give the illusion of a belt strap, I glued on this brass turtle knocker that I got for 50 cents at the thrift store. And lastly, I made some labels out of the pages I cut out and glued them onto the drawers. And with that, we can finally head into the final reveal. Hello! Making the teeny tiny little fake bottles of poison was really fun. This tiny one, strychnine, is just filled with salt. The Bryonia alba, that's just some pumpkin seeds that I took from my dad's stash. And lastly, the calomel, also known as mercury-infused medicine, is just some wooden beads that I found in my own stash. I also had this one, belladonna, but it looked too modern, so I didn't end up showcasing it in the final reveal, but it can join the ranks for now. Oh right, inside this arson drawer is just a piece of quartz, because obviously I don't have any arsenic. And making the tiny little labels was just so freaking fun. I would love to make more of these fake little medicine bottles, except that I exhausted my collection of tiny little jars. Otherwise, I would have made more, trust me. But yeah, I'm super proud with how this came out. I think getting the table saw really did help with the accuracy of cutting the drawer bits. They're still a little crooked here and there, but you know, they all fit pretty well with very minimal amount of sanding. If I recall, when I made my antique jewelry box, the amount of sanding in that was abysmal. And the trim really added so much intricacy to this little drawer set. And of course, my little bottle of poison finally has a home. I'm not sure what I'll actually store in here or where I'm even gonna put it in my room. For now, I'll just admire it. Look at the inside, look at the velvet. Sorry, I can't stop looking at it and just like poking at it because I'm just so proud of it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching me make this fancy dancy book, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye! By the way, if you want to have the other demon drawings that I didn't end up using, you can. I'll put them up on my store, which I'll link in the description box below, and all I ask is, please don't report me for copyright. Okay, bye!